I'm Hamid Hajian. I'm thrilled to be back on this stage with my former boss, Chris Kennedy. We are going to talk about the evolution of Precon and the technologies to support it. 8 years ago, Chris and I were on the stage together at this very same conference. Back then, it was called Advancing Building Estimation. We were in, I believe, Houston, Texas.
Yep.
Back in 2017. We are now at different companies, but notice I have lost a lot of hair, but Chris looks exactly the same. So the main takeaway from our session is, if you like to keep your hair, do not start a business. 8 years ago, we had a presentation called Utilizing Historical Big Data to Reduce Budget Turnaround Time. It was part of the Conceptual Estimating and Historical Data track. And notice the buzzword of the day was big data. Everyone was talking about big data, and now talking about AI. We showed a bunch of nerdy graphs and charts, and we talked about our data analytics approach towards budgeting. And we also showed a spreadsheet tool we have made internally for conceptual cost estimating based on those data analytics ideas. And back then, Hans and Wade would run a poll, and our session was rated as second most popular session in the whole conference. And that spreadsheet tool turned into what is now Zebel estimating software. And lots of companies of different sizes across the country are now using it, including Google and Amazon. And all of that started with a simple spreadsheet that we created between two overworked Precon professionals trying to make Precon faster and better. I'm now so thrilled to be back on the stage with Chris to talk to you about that journey. So in this today's competitive market and economy we are in, everyone is expected to do more and deliver more with the same resources, if not less. And this conversation is about how we got ahead of that curve. So Chris, can you introduce yourself and tell us about what kind of companies you have been at and what kind of roles you have held?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Hamid. It's good to be here, good to be with everyone. Hope this conversation is helpful. My name is Chris Kennedy. I've been in the industry for about 25 years. Started in construction as an assistant project manager, a project manager, director of construction, VP of pre-construction, and then currently serving as CEO of AmPam Parks Mechanical. We are a MEP design build subcontractors, so we do design, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and construction. And we provide services all over California for both design and construction as a subcontractor. And it's been interesting to see estimating from both sides of the table now. I've spent most of my career on the GC side or development side, and now being on the subcontractor side. And so before I would do maybe 3 bids a month, and it was a lot of work because you're dealing with all the trades. Now just being on the MEP side, we do even more estimating. We do probably 50 bids a month. So lots of volume, lots of need for efficiency. But yeah.
That's quite a change going from a few bids to 50 bids.
Yeah,
a month.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So you were my boss at Western National Group, the multifamily GC company and the development. And what kind of challenges did you face when you took on the role of VP of Preconstruction, heading that the Precon team we had with a $1 billion plus pipeline?
Yeah, so I think coming into the Precon role, the main challenge was probably speed and accuracy. We needed to be responsive to our clients, to our owners, and provide accurate data quickly, accurate estimates quickly. That was probably the two biggest challenges that we had. And what I realized was, just starting out, was we had this kind of junk drawer problem where We're focused on multifamily. So, for example, we'd get a project in LA, say a 300-unit podium, and the first instinct is, okay, what's the project most similar to that we've done recently? And we'd get on the phone with, I think Bill over in, project management, he did that. So call Bill, hey, where's your last budget or your budget for that project? Oh, I think I can find it. It's on my computer. He searches around, he finds it, sends it over, and we start to use that as a reference. We're combing through it, and we'd get to say electrical or something, that line item, and be like, hey, this doesn't look right at all. I got to call him back. Hey, this seems really high. What's going on here? Oh, well, we put the light fixture package in the electrical line item on that particular job, so that's why it's off. Oh, okay. So all this back and forth and searching for data and trying to clean up the data on the fly, it was really time consuming. And meanwhile, the client is, hey, we need the bid, where is it? And we're just scrambling. And so you'd kind of race to the finish line, you'd get there, and you'd have just enough time to put the bid together and barely any time to spend going through the bid and analyzing the bid, understanding the bid so that you could defend it and speak to it. And that was where we started. And that was the real pain point, was just this lack of efficiency, lack of organization, no database. And that's when we started working together. And the big data was the buzzword. You were getting a master's degree and in some interesting courses at the time, and we said, hey, we should build a database. We should get all of our information. We did probably 6 months worth of data mining, and we were fortunate that we could dedicate a couple of people to just mine data. Get all of the, how many windows on this project, how many, the square yards of roofing and balconies, lineal foot of balcony railing, all these metrics we would compile, created a huge database, and that was the beginning of our system. That we then took that database and started to develop tools to put on top of that to leverage that data, and that was the beginning.
What was the impact on the operation? What happened after we built that?
So we had to prove it, right? Because it was all brand new. So we ran kind of the original process, the traditional process, alongside this new process to make sure that it worked. And we got a ton of repetitions. And long story short, we were able to produce a quick estimate, say for a project that's a $100 million apartment project, that would normally take 6 weeks or 7 weeks, and we'd be late, to an hour. We could do that in an hour by leveraging all of our historical data. And so it wasn't based on actual bids for that project, because a lot of times in the early stages we're dealing with conceptual design, schematic design. There's not a lot to go off of. So we'd make our own assumptions and document them. And that allowed us to get from 6 weeks for a bid time to an hour. And after we proved that it worked, the really interesting thing was the client. So we coined this phrase, quick estimating tool. That's what we called our Google built tool that we had. And it was really cool because after a while, the client started to email us and say, hey, can you run a QET? Can you use your quick estimating tool and run this scenario, run that scenario? And that was really where we knew, hey, this is working.
Yeah.
So
I remember it was kind of like a double-edged sword, because after we showed it to them, then they would expect us to turn around budgets faster.
Right.
It wouldn't give us as much time.
Yeah.
And you mentioned we built it on Google. Can you tell us like how we ended up deciding to put it on Google, and what happened when COVID hit? Because I remember the story of when COVID happened and everyone started working remote. And what was the impact of having that thing on Google?
Yeah, so we had estimators in different areas, and we just felt like that was the way to go. Operating on a local server and finding information was a little slower. And so we said, hey, we ought to be leveraging the cloud. We ought to be in Google and have our database there so all of our estimators can see it no matter where they are. And so we went that way. And actually, IT was not happy with it. They were saying, hey, what's this Google link? And we're like, don't worry about it. And it actually worked out really well because then COVID hit and IT was scrambling. They're like, we got to get all these workers access to the servers, and how are we going to do this and set them up? And on the Precon side, we were like, yeah, we're already there. We're on the cloud, we're on Google. We didn't miss a beat. So that step was definitely worthwhile. That was advantageous for us.
I definitely remember a moment where I was uploading like gigabytes and gigabytes of files, everything onto Google from our local servers. And I remember one of our IT guys just showed up on my desk. He's like, in the headquarters, they're complaining about the bandwidth here. It looks like, and I tracked it down. It's you. Are you uploading things to Google? And I'm like, he caught me red-handed. and he goes, and I'm just trying to just stay silent. Anything I say, it's gonna just spill the beans. And he goes, are you uploading images to Google, the pictures? And that's what he thought. It was like my Google Drive. And I'm like, yeah, images, files. And he goes, okay. And I go like, I can just stop it. And he goes, oh, I already unplugged you because you're just blocking the whole bandwidth. And we just planned the whole, like a 2 week, we just piecemealed all the uploads. But that was our process to go online and cloud-based, kind of like in a rogue system. So you've been at different kinds of companies, development, multiple GCs, and now you're running an MEP design build companies. And obviously Precon has been central in all of those roles. What kind of challenges have you seen shared across all of these companies in terms of Precon?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually the same, just more so on the subcontractor side with estimating. Because like I said, instead of doing 3 bids a month on the GC side, that's what we were doing, now we're doing 50 because we're bidding the mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing. And so we've got to get a lot of bids out to win the work that we want to win. So speed and accuracy is still a challenge. And so for us to have access to our data quickly and be able to leverage it to create a bid is still really important. So yeah, it continues to be speed and accuracy.
Yeah, that's definitely the dream of every Precon leader, like to have it quick and have it accurate.
Yeah, I mean, for us to do a bid, say for example on the plumbing side, there are so many parts and pieces. A full takeoff for us with one guy would be probably 2 weeks, all day, every day, to get it done, and that'd be a stretch. And we can't afford to have a team that size to do that kind of bids when you're doing 50 bids a month. So we have to have a way to cut through that process quicker. And so what we're arriving towards is more of a, because we'll bid projects multiple times, 5 or 6 times sometimes. And so we'll use a quick bid process for the first few bids. And then once it's closer to award, we'll switch to the detailed process. So we still do that detailed pass, but just once instead of multiple times in order to save time.
Got you. So we talked about the journey over the last decade. Where do you think Precon and technology to support Precon is headed in the next decade?
I do think AI is going to play a role. And I think, we just had a question about, AI and the role of pre-construction. And I think that, in the near term, AI is going to make us faster and smarter. But I think if we're not careful in the long term, AI can make us dumber because we could rely on it too much. But I do think there's definitely a role for AI to play in making us more efficient. We're seeing it come into more and more industries and starting to in estimating as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what do you think in terms of connectedness in the process? I've seen that kind of shift in the industry about like going from the conceptual estimate all the way to the very end. Where do you see that going?
Yeah, I think we've been developing tools that are targeted to fix, a specific problem. Construction has been a little bit late in the technology side, but more and more technology is coming. But these tools have been targeted to fix specific problems. And so in the future, I think we're going to move towards AI, and we're going to move towards more comprehensive tools. So a tool that can address, a project that's in schematic design or conceptual design in the early stages, and be able to get to a bid in that stage, and then that stays with it through as the design develops. As it goes out to bid, we're collecting bids as it goes through buyout, manages through construction, and then at project closeout, we're now going to leverage that information. That's the most definitive information that we have, because it's bought out, it's built, and then it's just a matter of escalating from that point, but then leveraging that definitive information for the next one. So I think we're going to see tools that leverage AI that are more comprehensive, holistic type tools.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been interesting to just watch Precon, how it's been evolving over time. And even look at this conference, but in 2017, when we presented together, it was much smaller, much less number of companies to support Precon. And the way we estimated back then was mostly based on the spreadsheets. This is actually the quick estimating tool that we presented at the time. You would just plug in some inputs, like some square footages, counts, things like that, and then you pick comps from your historical projects, and then it would generate an estimate for you quickly. And that's what we call just QET, or quick estimating tool. And we were so proud of that, that it reduced our turnaround time so much. But it was kind of duct taped with a bunch of formulas and connections between different spreadsheets. And now we have reimagined that whole concept with AI. And this is how we see the evolution of Precon from the technology point of view. About 30 years ago, people started using Excel for everything, including estimating. And then about 2 decades ago, some desktop-based tools started to come up. And for the last 10 years or so, up until now, a lot of cloud-based tools have come up. We started at that time, a few years ago. But we believe the future is going to be really AI-driven. And you're going to see AI trickled into different parts of the estimating process, whether from takeoff, looking up data, or anything else about it. And now I'm going to show you a glimpse into the future that we are building with AI. We have just started that. We are just scratching the surface. And imagine you received one of these emails from a client. Hey, I'm working on this project. I have a very preliminary design. Can you give me a quick estimate? And don't worry, I'm not going to hold you to it. Just give me a quick number.
Lie.
Do you receive these kind of emails regularly? You raise your hand. And it's not fun. Like, you just want to get it out of your way, because you're busy with a lot of shovel-ready projects, but still you want to maintain that relationship with the client and turn it around as fast as you can and as accurately as you can. In the old world, you would go either to your Excel template or your desktop tool or your cloud tool, but this is what we are building it with the future, by just asking Tito, your Precon AI assistant. Tito is our Precon AI assistant we have built. We have actually named it after one of our team members called Tito. Is actually there. Hey, Tito, can you? Yeah, we can just ask Tito. He knows everything.
So is it AI, or is it just Tito furiously typing to all these people?
And here's what it looks like. After you receive that email, you just go to Tito and just ask, can you help me create an estimate for me? Just like in ChatGPT, but imagine connected to your historical data. Just asking, hey, can you help me create an estimate for a multifamily project called We called it Advancing Preconstruction. And we're just running through a multifamily example, and it will just work through some questions, and it will ask you, okay, tell me where is it located? You just type in the address, it picks it up, and then it will ask you some questions. Okay, tell me what kind of project is this? Is this the whole project, or is it like building A, building B? The nice thing is it requires zero training. You just have a conversation with it, as if you literally have an assistant by your side. It even picks up similar projects in your database and says, looks like these projects are the most similar, given the location, the project type. Would you like to use any of these? I say, yeah, use the final cost version that has all of the change orders in it. And then it will ask you, okay, I need a little bit more information. Tell me how many studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms you have. And once you just type that in, it's on a 4-acre lot. And I got 50 studios, I got this many 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. And if it's a school project, it would ask you relevant questions about schools. If it was a healthcare project, it would ask you projects, information about the healthcare projects. And once you type that in, they will just go fetch the data, and here's your estimate is ready. You just click on the link, and here's your estimate. It's a fully detailed budget, line item by line item, by every cost code. It looked up unit pricing in your comps that it picked up, and your output is ready to go to your client with all of your assumptions, and every little detail in your estimate is ready to go. This is really just the beginning of it. We are internally calling it, this is the baby Tito.
Tito.
This is just starting. This is now kind of like a crawling. But when we get it to a point that it will start running, it will do much more than that. And this is where we see where the industry is headed. So that it will do much more with the same team. It basically it helps you expand your pre-con capacity without having to add more people, and just makes everyone work faster.
And I think it's important to point out that it's based on your specific historical data, because it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, well, how can a tool like this generate an estimate for me that's accurate? And I think the answer is because it's using your historical data. Zebel is organized, that's the whole point, organized your historical data in a way that's useful for you, and now we're leveraging these modern tools to understand it better.
Because you know your data and you trust it, you know where it's coming from. You know where the bodies are buried in your budgets, and you can manipulate it accordingly. And if you'd like to learn more about Tito, find one of the men in yellow, including myself. They're very easy to find in the expo hall to make an introduction to Tito and learn more about what we're doing. But with that, I think we have a few more minutes left for questions. I think we can have the Slido up. I can't see the.
I'll read it.
Okay.
I think I put it there.
All right. So let's. This is a question for Chris, actually. We'll get to that one. With those 50 bids a month, how many estimators do you have on staff, and how much of that is budgetary?
We have about 15 estimators on staff between mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and that's a combination of senior estimators, junior estimators, people that are tracking down quotes and things like that, but about 15 people.
We have a question here for you, Hamid. Will a client use Tito directly?
Yes. Yeah, you can just, once we get you set up, we clean up your data, scrub it, organize everything, set up your database, and once it's set up, you can start basically talking to your database. And this is going to be especially helpful for not just estimators or pre-con team, but also like business development team who are not estimators, but they want to ask for information. I remember at Western National, when we first put together that massive spreadsheet that we called the database, then people would just start like bugging me. It's like, can you look up this thing? Can you look up that thing? But once you give them a tool that makes it really easy to just access that information, makes it a lot easier. because you no longer have to look up things and give those answers.
We have time for one more question, and I'll choose this one. Is Zebel going to be available to MEP subs or just general contractors? I think you would make it available too.
Yes, yeah.
And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Are you
Anthem
happy to
is already
sell
using
your
it.
software, or do you not want to sell it?
Yes, everyone, including MEP subs, can use it.
Very good. Well, it's 9:30, and let's thank our speakers.
Okay. Thank you.